What do I like about Michael? I like the fact that Michael Jackson is black. He's black. That's what I like about Michael. And when you look at how black Michael Jackson is and in what time Michael Jackson grew up and what being black in America meant in the time that Michael was a child, that's why the story of Michael Jackson is so powerful. He's black. And this black man is who all the little white girls are passing out over. White women are showing their boob and they're like, oh my God, Michael, look at my boob. Michael, my boob, sign my boob. And if you look at those concert footages, you look at the footage, all the footage from the concerts, look at the crowd. It's majority white people. It's packed with Germans. He goes to Germany, he sells out, sold out stadium. First night, second night, third night, sold out. He goes to Istanbul, sold out. All the white people are there. Comes to America, the women are showing their boob. They're like, Michael, I want to die. Michael, look at my boobies, Michael. Look at them. I'm going to pass out. Where's the ambulance? Oh, Michael, we're white. We're white. Michael, look, we're white. And so all these white people are like dying over this black guy. And that's significant because it's the elephant in the room that nobody likes to directly address is that in America, when you talk about the influence that black people have on white people, and we have to be very specific about this. When you talk about what influence does black people have on white people, how do blacks drive white culture? How do blacks drive culture in general? And you look at all the most powerful or famous black people in the 90s and the 80s, I believe mostly the 90s, who was really dominating culture? It was black people. You had Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan was just a basketball player, but he wasn't just a basketball player now, was he? He wasn't. Okay, he was a very intelligent businessman, and so was his mother. So was his mother. So were his parents. So Michael Jordan breaks history by getting into like a sneaker deal with Nike that was unprecedented. It had never been done before. Now, don't get me wrong. NBA players, they've had shoes before. Adidas was killing it in the sneaker game with the NBA players. So that's not the unprecedented part. What was unprecedented about what Michael Jordan was able to do with the help of his parents was he got into a deal with Nike that no other basketball player had ever gotten, ever, like from any company. So, and their projected sales, what they thought they would sell, they ended up selling like way, like almost like 10 times more. Like, they ended up selling much more than they even thought. Nike thought they would sell like a few units, like, yeah, this shoe is going to do well because Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. And so they were willing to bet on Michael. But they ended up doing like so much more. They sold, I mean, even up till today, Michael Jordan is still killing it in terms of sneakers. So that's another thing. You have this time frame in the 90s where you have all these adverts about, I want to be, I want to be, I want to be like Mike. Want to be like Mike, right? So it's always the black people that get this kind of like massive influence over the world. You have Michael Jordan more influential, than the president of the United States. You have more kids wanting to be Michael Jordan than wanting to be president. You have more white boys and white girls wanting to be Michael Jackson than wanting to be the president. They will listen to Michael Jackson before they listen to their white president. They will listen to Michael Jordan before they listen to the president. like, so when you look at culture and what drives culture, your musicians, your actors, your gymnastics people. So in almost every area, you have the Michael Jacksons, you have the Michael Jordans, you have the Simone Biles. Simone Biles, for those of you who don't know her, is a black woman. And the fact that she's black matters. She is black and she is the best gymnast in the entire world to ever exist, ever. That's a fact. She is the best gymnast to ever exist in the world, ever. She's not she's not described as, oh, she's good enough for a woman. She's not described as, oh, for a black person, she's good. She is the best gymnast out of all white men, out of all black men, out of all women, out of every human. okay. Simone Biles is the best gymnast in the world of all time. She is the Michael Jordan, she is the Michael Jackson of gymnastics. And she's black. Again, so on a consistent basis, and this isn't luck, this is not luck. You can never say a black person achieved success because of luck. You can never say that about a black person. You can say that about a white person, but you can never say it about a black person because you and I both know that when you're black, you and I both know how much hatred you get from certain people because of your skin tone. And it's not as bad today, but it's still there in some ways because of the devil, the demonic energy that wants to still keep racism alive. But you and I both know that in the times when you couldn't even get on the radio because you were black, in America, they wouldn't even put your songs on the radio if you were black. A white person would have to take your songs, put their white name on it, sing it with their white voice, and then the radio would play it. So you can never say black people are lucky. Black people have the opposite of luck. They have hardships, they have obstacles, they have tribulations that they have to overcome just to get on the same stage that white people can just la-di-da, skippity-doo, skippity-doo-dah, and just end up on stage. And they don't have to be nearly as good. You can be white, you can be mediocre, and you will get on stage. A black person to get on that same stage, they have to be perfect. They have to be excellent. They have to be extraordinary. And even then, there are still so many obstacles they have to overcome before they get the same stuff. And you've probably heard this said before, black people have to be twice as good to get the same things white people get. It's not even about that. I don't agree with that statement. It's not about that. This is about God versus the devil. That's really what this is about. The Bible says we wrestle not against flesh and blood. This is not about white people, black people, racism. It's not about that. Okay. So the truth about it is that there's a spirit that is against the black race. And that spiritual demonic force that is against the black race that didn't want black people to succeed, what I find very interesting, and the reason I encourage black people so much is because when when you look at how much of a head start, you have to go back and look at how evil the white race was towards black people, specifically black people, not Mexicans, not Chinese people, specifically black people. And when you look at how evil the white race was in America, which claims to be a Christian nation, which claims to be founded in Christian principles, yet they were so evil. So you have to wonder, how can you be founded on Christian principles and yet you're so evil? Clearly, somebody's lying about their Christian beliefs. So you look at what black people had to deal with. There was a time that black people weren't allowed to read. If you were caught reading, you were killed. There was a time black people in America were not allowed to do math. If you were caught trying to educate yourself, you were killed. Okay. There was a time black people couldn't even look at white people. If you were caught even looking at a white person in a way that would suggest romance, you would be killed. They would hang you on a tree. They would hang you on a tree. So when you look at the massive head start, the white people don't want the black people to get an education. The white people want the education to be only for themselves. Only for themselves. They want to be the educated ones, while the black people are uneducated because they know education is power. And so these white people gave themselves a massive head start. For years, it was just them able to succeed, able to be romantic, able to have little white babies, and educated little white sons and daughters. For years, they gave themselves a head start, massive head start. Only they could be on the radio. Presley on the radio. Elvis Presley on TV. Black person wants to get on TV. It's a struggle. Elvis Presley's on TV, no big deal. Black person wants to get on the radio. He can't. Elvis Presley's on TV, no big deal. Johnny Cash. You know Johnny Cash. Because you're mine, I walk the line. I it open all the time. Yeah, that guy, Johnny Cash, the guy who's on drugs. So before Johnny Cash got on drugs and died, he was all, same thing. He grew up in the era of white people can get on TV, white people can get on the radio, white people can, white people are allowed to succeed. Black people are not. Okay. So this is the time, this is the history. And so when the reason, for those of you who have noticed that black people seem to always outshine white people, every time a black person gets involved in something, whether it's in science, whether it's in math, whether it's in architecture, whether it's in basketball. Oh, yeah, basketball, sports, that's another thing, right? So racism is over. And now you have like the early, what is it, 30s, 40s, 50s. All white people are on TV playing sports. They're playing basketball. And you and I both know what it looks like when all white people in short shorts that are very short are playing basketball. They're tall, they're lanky, they have no swag, and they have no rhythm. And it's just a bunch of tall, lanky white people in tiny shorts playing basketball. It wasn't cool. It wasn't fun. It was very boring. It was very vanilla. But black people wanted to get involved and they couldn't because white people don't want you to succeed if you're black. So they said, no, these black people, why should they be playing basketball? No, we don't want them playing basketball. No. And so it was, again, another struggle. All the time, black people have to struggle. There's no luck. There's no luck. No luck if you're black. You have to struggle. You have to fight to get in the stage. You have to fight to get on the court. You have to fight to play football. You have to fight to play basketball. You have to fight to get on the radio. You have to fight to get on TV. You have to fight to get anything. You have to fight a fight that white people don't have to fight. That's part of the reason why the hand of God is on black people. The hand of God is on Black people because God is up there and He's looking and He's like, wow, this is so unfair. These people have it so hard. They have it so much harder than everyone else. Let me help them out a little bit. Let me send some angels. Let me put some people strategically in some places to be kind to these people, to show some kindness to these people. Because they're being treated in such a way that, oh my God. So there's no luck. Calling a Black person who made it lucky is an insult. It's an insult because they have to they have to fight a battle that you don't know anything about. If you're white, you don't know shit. You know nothing about this. So to even play basketball on the same court, it's a fight. It's a fight. We have to fight. Rules have to be changed. They have to look at rules and they have to come up with new rules for the first Black person to get on the basketball court. Now, that's the first battle. The first battle is how do you get Black people to get in the basketball court? Okay, so you finally get one Black person. Great, that's the token Black person. And that Black person has to be really nice. They have to, dot their Q. They have to, cross their T's and dot their I's and be really nice while being berated by white audiences. The whole white audience is booing you all the time while you're playing. And you still have to maintain your composure and you still have to be kind and you still have to smile while being booed by the whole white audience because you're the first Black person to be in a white team full of white people. So it's difficult. You can imagine the difficulty. And you still have to show up and hopefully they're paying you the same as your white colleagues. Probably not, so they treat you like you're even lucky to be here, so that whole thing, difficult obstacles, tribulations, difficult. Then you've seen movies like Glory Road, right? You've seen Glory Road, the film. These Black people, exceptional Black basketball players. They go in to play against, they're playing in a time when it's not cool. It's not acceptable to be Black and to be successful. It's not acceptable. And these Black people, they're succeeding and the white people are very, 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 very mad. So you have to deal with, you have to go play this basketball game, but then you come back to your dorm or your hotel and they've written the N-word all over your stuff and they've broken into your hotel and ransacked your stuff and this is what God is looking at. God is looking at the treatment and how these people are being treated and how you have to fight to get anything. Nothing is just given to you. You have to fight for the smallest thing. And it's just always, you gotta fight. Always, you can't be casual. You have to fight for everything. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, So why? After giving white people such a head start, white people gave themselves such a head start, and Black people were behind for years, being suppressed, their talents being suppressed. White people don't want the Black talent to be seen. They don't want the Black talent to be heard on the radio. They don't want the Black talent to be seen on TV. They don't want even Michael Jackson in the early stages. Some MTV stations didn't want to play his music. There were places they didn't want to play his music. They didn't want this Michael Jackson stuff being played in certain places. It took some white guy who was like above there was a white guy who was, I guess, also part of like Michael Jackson's team. And he was like, hey, I'm going to pull all my stuff out of your TV station or your radio station if you don't play Michael Jackson. That's what it took to get Michael to the next level. It took a white person having to threaten and say, we're going to pull all our white artists, the ones you are playing, we're going to pull all of them until you show Michael Jackson some respect. Okay, so like this is what Naomi Campbell went through. Same thing. You look at Naomi Campbell today, you're like, oh my God, she's so perfect. She's a goddess. But Naomi Campbell, could not get anybody to book her at one point for a fashion show. This girl couldn't get on a fashion show to save her black life. Okay. And it was so difficult for Naomi because, again, white people don't want black beauty to be seen. For years, the white people have been pushing propaganda, calling black people ugly. If you are black, you are ugly. If you're black, white people are beautiful. Black people are ugly. White people are the best. White people are better than everyone else. White people, white. The world has to be white. Everything has to be white. White, 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 white. For years, this was what was pushed. White people must have blue eyes, must have blonde hair. White. Everyone must be white. White, 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 white. Everything must be white. Beauty, everyone should want white people. Make sure you have your desires, your sexual desires should be towards white people. White, 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 white. And so here comes Naomi, and she's black and she's stunning. And she's just shattering all of the white propaganda. Okay. And it's not okay for the white people. The white people are like, we don't like this. Okay. This black person, she's coming here with all her beauty and her excellence. And we hate that shit. So don't put her on the show. Don't put her on the show. This cannot be seen. We cannot have this in the media. We don't want this white girl with her we don't want this black girl with her perfect black legs and her perfect black face and her perfect body. And no. So they weren't booking Naomi Campbell. And this is part of life. A lot of times you're going to realize people may not give you favor, not because you're not good enough, but because you're too good. There's a problem of being too good, where people don't want to show you any favor. They don't want to show you any kindness, not because you're not good enough, but because they know that if you get it, you will outshine a lot of their people. They know they can't beat you. So they don't want to give you any favor. They don't want to put you on the same stage. So Naomi Campbell, Tyra Banks, they came up in that era of black people, black beauty being a problem. And you know what it took? Guess what it took? What it took for Naomi Campbell to finally get on some runways, it took her white friends. Her white friends, because she was like sharing, she and like three other white women, they were all in the game together. And they were like, I think one of them was like Cindy Crawford. I don't remember, but there were like three gorgeous white women who are all trying to succeed in the modeling industry at the same time as Naomi. And they loved each other. They loved Naomi. And they realized how Naomi was not getting the same opportunities. And it bothered them. And they were like, you know what? So this is how God works. God works through people. So God put it in the hearts of these three white women to stand up for Naomi. And God was like, I'm going to use your friends. I'm going to use white people to help black people. And so God was like, yo, you white women, you love Naomi, right? They were like, yeah, we love Naomi. Okay, well, tell these white people that are in charge of putting people on the runway to put Naomi on. Okay, like, what's your problem? Put Naomi on. So Naomi gets on because Cindy, I keep thinking Cindy. I don't know why I keep thinking of that name. She was probably one of them. You can Google the story. Okay, it's all over Google. It's all over the internet. So the three white women were like, we're not going to be on your show if you don't put Naomi on. So if you want us, then you have to take Naomi too. And so by them taking a stand saying, we're not going to let you guys keep like treating Naomi like she's not Naomi. Okay, this is Naomi. So if you want us, then Naomi comes too. And, it's just so sad. Like it's just so sad. Like this is the history of what Black people have to deal with. And you would think in today's time that treatment is totally gone. It's not. It's not. Because even me in some spaces, I'm in the tech space and it's not, and I'm doing things. You don't have a lot of Black girls from Africa. I'm from Cameroon. I'm from Africa. I was born in Cameroon. And how many Black African Cameroonian girls do you know who create billion-dollar software engines for film? It's not heard of. I'm the first. I'm the only one. Okay. And I'm in a tech space. You look at SIGGRAPH presentations, you see white people. It's white men. That's it. Okay. So you have a bunch of white guys and maybe a few black people are there and maybe a few black women. It's very rare. Okay. And so you have to deal with a lot of, I'm breaking a lot of stereotypes. I'm shattering a lot of preconceived notions. I'm destroying a lot of belief systems that people may have had about women or black people or black women. And it's not the same. It's not as bad as back when you couldn't get on the radio because you're black. You can't get on TV because you're black. Oh, we love Michael Jackson, but we won't play Michael Jackson in certain places because he's black. Oh, we love Naomi Campbell's, but she's too beautiful and she might outshine some white people, so we're not going to book her. Okay, we're just not going to book her. Sorry. Um, if she was uglier, we would book her because she's not a threat. But look at her. She's too good looking and she's a threat to white beauty. And we've spent years promoting white beauty and blue eyes and blonde hair. And now you want us to take this shiny black person with her shiny legs and her perfect face and her excellent jawline, and you want us to put her, and now people are going to see that black people aren't ugly. All the propaganda we've been pushing, this one black person is going to shatter that. And that sucks for us, white people. So they didn't want to book her, but they got over it, and so Naomi ended up having a successful career. In the '90s, and she's things changed, things got better. I think white people became more used to seeing black people that are beautiful. And you know it's just really sad because it's like, well, I don't know why white people are so fragile and so worried and so threatened. But there's enough for everyone to go around. There's enough to go around for everybody. My grandmother used to say the sky is big enough for all the stars to shine. There's not a star in heaven that's competing with another star. Every star has enough space. This God is smart enough to create enough space for all the stars in heaven to shine. So you don't have to be uh, so threatened all the time by a newcomer, or so threatened all the time and trying to suppress the beauty of a newcomer who's a supermodel, trying to suppress the intelligence of a new software designer because you're threatened that their software is going to be better than your software, or trying to suppress the success of somebody new because you're threatened that they're like, what is that about? Instead of being threatened, why don't you just be better? You see, just be better. So these are the kinds of things I like to talk about, because it's not, white people don't like to talk about these things, and they don't like to admit these things, and they don't like to correct themselves and their forefathers for how they behaved towards black people. And they don't like to acknowledge that there is no luck for black people. You have to fight very hard. You don't just become a Hollywood star because you're black. You become a Hollywood star if you're black by working your ass off and doing everything you can. And hopefully you don't turn into a prostitute, and hopefully you don't feel like you have to sleep with every producer on the planet just to get a Hollywood movie. Hopefully you have some dignity. But a lot of white people, a lot of white women, they'll tell you they had to sleep with this producer, they had to sleep with that director, they had to sleep with this person, they had to sleep with that person just to get a movie deal, just to get a TV role, just to get this, just to get that. And they had to basically prostitute themselves to get anywhere. And that's white people. Now imagine being black. Okay. Imagine being black. So, um, I mean, you've it's just really it's really the tax of being black and being excellent at something. When you're black and you have to work hard, you know that things aren't just going to be given to you. You know that you have to work very, very, very hard, because um, you're not going to get the same opportunities unless you are just exceptional, you know. And even then, because you're exceptional, is the reason why people are not going to want to vote for you. People tend to like you if you're mediocre because they know that you compared to them, you're not going to make them look bad. But when you are exceptional, there's a special tax for that. There's a special obstacle that exceptional people have to go through. And it's the obstacle of outshining others and people knowing you're going to outshine them. And so they don't want you on the stage with them. A lot of times, the exceptional person gets shunned. The exceptional person gets excluded. The exceptional person is the one nobody votes for because they know what happens when you get on that stage. They know what happens when you are given the same opportunities, when you're given the same exposure, when you're given the same things that they have. They know what's going to happen to them if they don't want to improve. And rather than for them to improve and to raise the bar for themselves, they would rather suppress you. They would rather suppress you. So this is the difficulties of being excellent. These are the difficulties of being Black and excellent at the same time. These are the difficulties of not settling for less and saying, I want what's mine in the universe. I want a piece of what's mine. If I didn't have people suppressing me, trying to suppress me, enemies of progress, if I didn't have anybody standing in my way, if I didn't have people trying to slow me down, if I didn't have people trying to get me to quit, if I didn't have people and organizations, if I didn't have anyone, if nobody got in my way, and if nobody was trying to suppress me, my God, who would I be in this world? And that's the question every Black person coming up had to ask. If I didn't have anyone suppressing me, if I didn't have anyone oppressing me, if I was allowed to do math, if I was allowed to learn English, if I'm allowed to read a book without someone threatening to kill me for reading a book, if I was allowed to go to school, if I was allowed to get an education, what would that mean for me? What would that do for me? I bet you would realize Einstein isn't the smartest person in the world. Probably a Black person is. Probably a Black person is. You would realize uh, there's so much intelligence in Black people when they're given a chance. When they're given a chance. But when you tell them, oh, you can't read, you're not allowed to read, we'll kill you. Don't do math, we'll kill you. Oh, you can go to school, but we'll make sure your school has the worst books. And we'll take all the good books for ourselves. Oh, yeah, you can get a job, but we'll keep the best jobs for us. So it's just always fighting. You have Serena Williams, best tennis player out of all women that exist. And then the next best tennis player was her sister. The only one who could fight her was her own DNA, her sister. So you have Venus and Serena killing it. At one point, they were the only ones who could fight each other. No other women came close. There was a time it was Venus and Serena. That's it. Everybody else was just there for decoration. So in tennis, which is the widest sport in the world, okay, there is nothing wider than tennis. You have tennis and then you have hockey and then you have rugby. I think those are the widest sports apart from baseball, probably. So the widest sports in the world, you have tennis, rugby, baseball, golf. Oh, yeah, golf. You have golf. All the widest sports in the world, Black people went into those sports and dominated those sports. How in the world is Serena Williams dominating tennis, then her sister dominating tennis? Simone Biles goes and does gymnastics, which is another super white sport. She's killing it. She is killing it. And then you have track and field, Black people killing it. The Kenyans are killing it. The Jamaicans are killing it. Because if there's one thing a Black person knows how to do, they know how to run. Okay, they are killing it. Then you have Usain Bolt killing it. Okay, because he was in the womb. When he was in his mother's womb, he was killing it. He was running in the womb. Okay. Then you have Black people, if they show any interest in rugby, if they show any interest in hockey, the best will be a Black person. This is always what happens. It's not luck, it's strategic. It's not luck, it's consistent. You put a black person in something, they're going to kill it. You want to know why? Because they have more obstacles. They've had more tribulations. They've had more against them. They've had more negativity thrown at them. And when you have a person that has to overcome more, that person tends to work harder. That person will outshine you. The person who didn't have as much obstacles as them, they will outshine you. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. As a white person, you had it easy. You had it much easier. You didn't have all the media against you. You didn't have anyone telling you, oh, you can't read or we'll kill you. You didn't have anybody telling you, trying to suppress you. There was no systemic oppression toward you. No one tried to oppress you. No one told you you couldn't do something simply because you're white, or because no one told you you couldn't get your songs on the radio simply because you're white. Nobody did that to you. So, of course, you want to know why the black people are beating you all the time? It's because they kept being told no. Everything they wanted to do, no one wanted them to do it. Nobody wanted them to do anything but be servants. So they worked their butt off to show you they're going to dominate computer graphics. They're going to dominate music. They're going to dominate basketball. They're going to dominate football. They're going to dominate gymnastics. They're going to dominate tennis. They're going to dominate golf. They're going to dominate anything they're allowed to. They're going to go to NASA and they're going to dominate that shit. Okay, they're going to put your white boys on the moon. They're going to dominate that shit. And you may not want to give them credit for it. That's what the movie Hidden Figures is about. But they're going to go to NASA. You let them in NASA. You let them in space. They're going to dominate space. So every time they get involved, they work their butts off because they know they didn't get there by luck. There is no luck for black. Black has to suffer to get anywhere. Black has to work harder to get anywhere. Nothing is given to us. Nothing is ever given to us. So don't ever claim it's luck that Stephanie Michaels is where Stephanie Michaels is. You don't know what I have to deal with. You have no idea what I have to go through, what I have to deal with. And then not only do you have the white people that are sometimes very negative, then you have some black people who side with the negative white people against their own kind, against their own. And that's doubly insulting. In slavery days, these would have been the blacks that owned slaves. These would have been the black people that went and took other black people and then sold them. And I have no respect for such black people. I have no respect for such black people. So, the history is important to know. It's important to know because when you look at all the black celebrities, and to be honest, the black celebrities of our time, most of them are an embarrassment, to be honest with you. Most of them, you should not be looking up to them. Most celebrities, to be honest, you shouldn't really look up to them because you don't know what they had to do to get to where they are. Most of them, they've had to basically become prostitutes. Most of them have turned gay. Most of them had to turn gay to get anywhere. There's a huge gay agenda in Hollywood where it's like you can't get anywhere unless you're willing to be gay. So, you have to really just like take things with a grain of salt because you really don't know how dark things are in this world. There's a very dark side to things and you really don't know. Okay. So some of it is being exposed, but it's darker than you think. It's very satanic. Okay. So you have to really if you're a Christian and you're trying to navigate these very satanic spaces, it's much harder. And when you're a Christian and also black, it's doubly harder. Because not only does the devil hate you just because you represent Christ, but the devil uses the media against you simply because you're a Christian. And then you're black, which the devil also hates. And because God loves black people, the devil hates black people. That's why black people get it harder than any other race. So it's like there's a lot of spiritual stuff there because the Bible is a black book. It's a book about Africans. It's a very African book. And you have people that are trying to twist that and trying to make all the black people into Muslims. So there's been a massive push to turn blacks into Muslims. And that's unfortunate because, the Christian faith is a black is mostly about black people. Okay, the Bible is black. It's a black book. Most of the Bible takes place in black places, in is like Middle Eastern black brown places. So it's a very black brown book. So it's but again, the Western world took a lot of the black stuff and put a white face on it. So they make a movie about Moses, they turn Moses into a white person. You and I both know the Bible clearly hints that Moses was brown, but they took Moses and they turned Moses into a white guy. You and I both know that the Bible describes the appearance of God and Jesus as brown, but again, white people, they took God and they put him and they made him white and they made him effeminate. They made him an effeminate white guy instead of the fierce black guy, brown guy that he is. So the imagery keeps being changed to favor the white race, and these are a lot of the things that white people are going to have to pay for, but because their race in particular, uh, they love misinformation. They really do, because it's never the Asians. It's not the Asian people taking the Bible and trying to make Jesus Asian. It's never the Hispanics taking the Bible and trying to turn it into a Hispanic Jesus. It's never, it's never that. It's always the European and American white people that take things that are brown and try to make it white. They'll take a brown story, they'll take a story that's about me, they'll take something from me that I did, that I said, and then they'll try and go and recreate it in Hollywood, and they'll make it all about white people. They do this to me all the time. And it's not just me, they've done it too. They've done it in the Bible. They've taken black stories and they've tried to make it white. They've taken black stories, taken black achievements, and then they've put a white face on it. So I tell you guys these things because these are conversations that need to be had so that you understand where people are coming from when they have a certain, you know, when they have certain feelings about the Caucasian race. You're not like, oh, well, that's racist. You can never call a black person racist because black people didn't systematically oppress you for being white. So if a black person has some strong feelings toward white people at certain times, you have to understand they've probably gone through things that you don't understand. Okay, so uh, when I see someone who calls a black person a racist because the black person doesn't want their black child marrying a white person, that's not racist. That's a legitimate concern. That's a legitimate concern, um, because again, there are so many cultural differences. It may not be a good match. You can be friends, but I wouldn't recommend a marriage. So, you know, y- but again, to each their own. But I always correct the blacks and the Asians and the white people who will try to say a black person is racist because they don't want to intermingle in a relationship with someone because they're white. Um, that's not racist. That's smart. That's smart, and it's their preference. It's their choice. So there's a lot of history there that a lot of you may try to ignore. You may not want to accept the truth about how evil the Caucasian race has been, but it's there. The propaganda has been there. It's all you have to go talk to Naomi Campbell. Ask Naomi Campbell how she was treated. Go talk to Tara Banks. Go talk to the first black basketball players that were allowed in the NBA. Ask them how they were treated after every game. Ask them how they were treated after every game. Go and talk to, so it's there. It's there. The hatred, the satanic hatred toward the black race has been there. Okay. People just never tied it to Satanism. People never tied the hatred to satanic behavior. So we're telling you the root of the hatred is Satanism. It's the devil. And because it's not normal to be that hateful. It's not normal. So when you're that hateful, that angry, that jealous, that threatened, that comes from the devil. That's demonic. So it's always been there. So anyway, that's why I said what I love about Michael is that he's black. And what I love about that is that he went into a field of music and he did it better. The he outsold the Beatles, and he beat a group that had it much easier than he did. Michael Jackson beat a group of white boys who were at the time the best sellers, and they didn't have to deal with the racism that Michael had to deal with. They didn't have to deal with the obstacles that Michael had to deal with. And Michael came and dealt with all that crap and beat the white people who had it easier than him. That's what I like about Michael Jackson. And I say it bluntly because it's the kind of thing white people don't like to acknowledge. They don't like to acknowledge that they have it easier in life. And they don't like to acknowledge the fact that black people have it much harder. And so when a black person beats you and you've had a charmed life, you grew up in a mansion, your life was easy, you had parents who would give you $200,000 to start your business, you had it easy. And you have some poor black kid, probably grew up an orphan, didn't have a dad, and they struggled and suffered and still made it. What's your excuse as a white person for not making it in life? You know, if a black person who had it worse than you can struggle, suffer, work hard, and make it, what's your excuse? Because who's oppressing you? What's your excuse for why you never became something? So it's like you had it so much easier. What did you do with it? What did you do with the advantages and the so-called privileges that you claim, your so-called white privilege? What did you do with it? You know, because at the end of the day, you and your so-called white privilege, you're still threatened by me. You're still worried every time a black person or anyone with talent that surpasses yours comes into your line of work. You get threatened, and then you want to suppress them. Enemy of progress. You want to suppress them. Instead of uplifting them, you want to suppress them. So it's the same thing. What's happening with me? It's probably going to take someone who really supports me to stand up for me. It's going to probably have to take some white person in power is going to have to stand up for me to keep me from being suppressed and to give me the same shot at my software company succeeding that Unreal Engine got, that Blender got, that all the white companies got, to give me the same shot at getting, if I want funding, if I need the things that all the other white people get all the time, funding, they get money, they get donations, all these things that they get so that they can keep going. If I need those things for my company, it shouldn't be significantly harder for me to obtain those things. You see what I'm saying? It shouldn't be, because why are they getting it and I'm not? Why shouldn't I get the same things? So you can't say it's luck. Where's the luck? If my software company being so excellent, it's not by luck. It's by design. It's by the grace of God. It's because God is with me. And God sees that I'm not treated fairly. God sees that I'm consistently there are people trying to suppress me, trying to keep this software company from growing. There are people that don't want our videos to get views. There are people that would rather my tweets don't get seen. There are people that don't want anything I do to succeed. And the question is why? Why? You have white pedophiles who have mansions and they're living and they have islands and they control the media. Why? So most of the people in power that are white are pedophiles, but it's okay for them to succeed. So it's amazing. It's amazing. So anyway, we have to call out these things, and we have to call out the truth, and we have to address things head on.